And what does it mean then for us as a society that if we say the only way to get people to pay attention to us is to exaggerate the norm, to take something out of its natural context and to hyperbolize life, where everything is a high Java jolt, where just normal living at the speed of life is no longer an acceptable issue, and that everything has to be outdone. Everything becomes a spectacle upon a spectacle. The President of the United States got elected after $1 billion on his side was contributed. That it wasn't even his opponent. It is about $70 million for a Senate seat. It's $50 million for a major mayoral seat or governor seat. What does this mean about our democracy? What does it mean about who we pay attention to? What does it mean about who influences us? Is it only about involving ourselves passively but never actively and allowing other people to pay or become famous enough that they control our lives, our perception, our reality? The form is yours.
Well, you touched on several points that
is a demonstration
I actually
of
spent a lot of time on reporting in this book. The whole first chapter opens with professional wrestling, reality television. The second chapter is on pornography. And I think what you've touched on is the commodification of everything around us, which is what corporate culture does. Nothing has an intrinsic value. We've lost the capacity for the sacred.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
When you live in unfettered capitalism, and you can go back to the 1940s and read theorists like Carl Polanyi who wrote about this in The Great Transformation. You have built within the system a form of self-annihilation because you exhaust everything, human beings or human labor, as well as the natural environment, to such an extent that it collapses. And this
is a demonstration
ethic
of
of unfettered capitalism, which is on display in reality television, is essentially the ethic of the mentally ill. When you look at the qualities that it takes in order to become a winner on a show like Survivor, for instance, it is about self-aggrandizement, it is about betrayal, it is about manipulation, it is about the destruction of community. And what are you given in return? You're given fame or fleeting fame and money. And this is precisely the ethic of Wall Street. It's what Wall Street has done. It's why Goldman Sachs, as we speak, is walking away now after, $19 billion of taxpayer money being handed to them, channeled through AIG. Massive bonuses. And yet at the same time, we are shedding jobs at a faster rate since the 1929 crash. This is the danger of the commodification of a society, and the environmental crisis that we face is intimately linked to the economic meltdown because they are doing to the environment what they are doing to human labor. They are squeezing it for everything until they kill it. These corporations that are responsible for plunging us towards a kind of neo-feudalism are at the same time destroying the planet that sustains or the ecosystem that sustains the human species. And I think that what we're grappling with is not solely a political crisis or solely an economic crisis, but a moral crisis. And I certainly saw it in this book. There's a common thread that runs through it. It's this moral nihilism, this celebrity culture, this incapacity to value anything that is not commodified, i.e. given a financial value. We determine our success in life by the money we make, and that becomes its own morality. It doesn't matter how you get there. It is a disastrous kind of cult of the self. And I think that this is the product of a consumer culture that rose primarily after World War I, where corporations, through advertising, created consumption as an inner compulsion. It created a kind of frightening hedonism, a belief in the chasing after an elusive happiness, which of course only produced more anxiety within the society, which these corporations then promised to ameliorate or to solve through the sale of products or experiences or status or brands or anything else. And the rise of that corporate culture meant the destruction of authentic culture, American culture. It replaced something that came before. And it replaced old values, values of thrift, values of communitarian experience, values of self-sacrifice, a search for meaning. We live in a culture where meaning is irrelevant. Integrity is irrelevant. It is all about image. It's about presentation. That's what social networking on Facebook, for instance, is largely about. It's about what corporate image making is about. It's about what political image making is about. If people have a negative opinion of what you're doing, you don't change your behavior. You change the public relations process by which image is disseminated throughout society. You saw the Israelis do this after the incursion in Gaza. They hired a huge public relations firm and started sending out the Israeli orchestra and theater groups to change their image. They didn't change their behavior, and that's just symptomatic of a commodity culture.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
I've had approximately 20 different specials appear on public television stations around the United States, some on the national circuit, others to different stations. One of those was Washington, D.C., and I had done about 5 different programs at that point. And this was on showing what's wrong with our American diet. And I'd had David Slater, one of our in-house counsel, pour out that day, earlier in the day, how much sugar, by all standards, an average kid eats in a day, and it was 40 teaspoons. And that's actually not how much the average kid eats, because a lot of kids don't eat any, and a lot of kids therefore eat more. But he poured it out. It was in a bag. I put that bag in a box. And then when I was talking on the air, I just poured it out. And I said, this is how much your kid is getting in a day. And then you wonder why the kid's not sleeping at night and not paying attention in class. And here's artificial sweeteners that are known to have adverse effects on the neurons of the brain. And then they've got their cell phone with electromagnetic pulses affecting chromosomes, and they're sitting in front of a television, they're losing their biological clock, they're not getting sleep, they're getting into class in the morning, they're tired, they take the caffeine to get them awake, as much as 800 milligrams of caffeine a day, and yet the kid instantly would be diagnosed with ADD and ADHD, put on a whole pharmaceutical regimen, stigmatized for life. We've got it wrong. Anyhow, the show was accepted, it's successful. Program director came over afterwards and says, very good. You raised a record amount of money for Thursday evening and on prime time. I'll play this about 8 times over the rest of the course of the fund drive. About an hour later, the same program director came over and said, I'm sorry, but I won't be able to play the show anymore. In fact, you won't be back on this station ever again. I said, why? What did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. This is the politics of PBS. Sharon Rockefeller is on the board. She's the head of the board of the local public television station.
This is a
and she got a call from the
demonstration of
Sugar Institute,
Wirecast.
who was offended by me denigrating sugar, and then Sharon called, and it's done. I can't do anything about it, Gary. And I thought only Channel 13 had that kind of dirty politics, because Channel 13 had Henry Kravitz as his president. And Henry Kravitz, as you may or may not know, is the head of a major corporate buyout firm and owns a tobacco company, RG Nabisco. And we know that tobacco kills 20 people worldwide each year, and a lot of them in America.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
So the question is, if you're supposed to be about the public good and the higher evolutionary principles, why would you have people that are tied directly into Sharon Rockefeller, who sits on the board of Pepsi-Cola, a major user of that sugar, the Sugar Institute, connected to her and her bringing pressure, or Henry Kravitz sitting on the board, and yet the public's clueless about this. The people on these boards are generally the power brokers in any given area, whether they're pharmaceutical companies, which they are, but they're not average people. So I accepted that, they don't want me back because unless I compromise, I'm not going to compromise. I'd rather not be on television than not to tell the truth. There's an old Jewish saying, a half-truth is a full lie. If I can't tell the full truth, then I simply will accept that I'm not going to be on that public television station, and that's what it is. Channel 13 is one of the worst. It's all about politics. People don't know any of this. But what